Last time we spoke about Dragon Age the Veilguard was how EA revealed that it missed sales expectations by quite a bit, by 50%. The EA anticipated 3 million people interact with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Now that terminology is very important because what do you mean? What do you mean by 3 million interactions? Okay, and maybe I let it off with a little bit of a light tongue lashing the first time around. Okay, it had 1.5 million interactions. What exactly does that mean? Okay, even just passing those off at sales, and then you just got to compare and contrast that with the reported, or at least speculated, $250, $300 million budget. Like, this game was in development in different forms and fashion at BioWare, getting kicked around from idiot to idiot for the better part of a decade, at least being worked on for 8 years, okay? Because Inquisition came out in 2014, if you recall. So yeah, this game has at least been in conceptual form for a decade, and then that popped out, that unmitigated failure. Yo, shout out to EFAP one more time, because, you know, Joe Danger, the guy who's working on some of the supercuts for Mauler, put together a nice little slice of gameplay from a bunch of different guys who have played it, from Mauler to Metal to Az to Little Platoon playing it, and it just really brought me back to watching a bunch of people play those tutorials and early parts of the game, and just how atrocious it was. Like, the gameplay, it's reminiscent of mobile gameplay, which is just AIDS at the best of times. And then the dialogue just saying ritual, 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 proper noun, proper noun. And then you got the, I don't know, weird elf-looking chick who just is like, oh my god, and it's like, I got the quirky girl voice where oh my god, I'm like a centuries-old elf, but then at the same time, I talk like a kid-old because I'm in a constant state of suspended development. This is so weird, like, oh my god. The game failed on every conceivable metric, except for when it came to critical acclaim, because, right, like, we got the IGN article pulled up right here, and IGN, who gave the Veilguard a 9 out of 10. Now we got a Eurogamer article pulled up here in a second, which we'll get to in a moment, and gave that game, oh, what was that again? Oh, yeah, right, yeah, a perfect 10, okay? And PC Gamer after that. I'm just naming the ones that I have pulled up there, but they gave it a little bit more of a reasonable 8, okay? I think it was like 78 out of 100 for whatever reason. They use a 100-point scale, which is just so arbitrary and stupid. It's kind of like all game reviews at this point in time from Legacy Media. What does it even mean? Because most of the stuff, care of stupid Alana Pierce, okay? No, IGN only gives, I can't do an Australian accent all that well off rip like that, but her stupid logic, because she used to write some IGN reviews before, as AAA games are just naturally more complex, so you got to start at a 7 and work your way up for there. That was the logic behind, you know, IGN giving Star Wars Outlaws another unmitigated disaster that resulted in a studio closure for Ubisoft. Already talked about that, and we'll continue to talk about Ubisoft's downfall because they aren't quite dead and buried yet. I'm not dead yet! Well, just give it a few minutes. But it unreasonably getting a 7 out of 10, which, to be completely honest, like, after watching the gameplay and watching a bunch of people play both of those games, like, Outlaws is really bad. It's not functional. It crashes on PS5 and on PC. That's, I guess, the one thing that Veilguard has going for it. Like, I didn't see it. Like, it was stable. It was stable shit. Like, it was a steady stream of diarrhea as opposed to the explosive variety that Outlaws was. So it's different. I don't really think that it's 2 points different in its quality, because the Veilguard, it probably had worse dialogue and worse characters. Like, that's not to say that, you know, KVS and Nyx and a bunch of those other goobers in there, you know, were any better, but it's just the Veilguard was so bad, and that's something that just really drove me off of BioWare games, which I was a huge fan of back in the cut with Mass Effect Andromeda, which, talking about it so much, really makes me want to go back and, you know, reassess how bad that was. But I still got Final Fantasy Rebirth to play. I haven't played that nearly as much as I want to. But anyways, talking about Veilguard and its failed markers of success. EA has announced today that it is revising, its outlook for the fiscal year after a slowdown in global football net bookings growth. Wait, what? Okay. And Dragon Age Veilguard missed the company's internal targets by nearly 50%. Okay. In a press release, the company said it is reducing its expectations for the fiscal year ending March of 2025 from from single-digit growth to mid-single-digit decline. Oh, that's still not good. The largest culprit, EA says, was Global Football, aka EA Sports FC, which experienced a slowdown last year from Q3 after 2 consecutive fiscal years of double-digit net bookings growth. In a press release, EA CEO Andrew Wilson specifically pointed to EA Sports FC 25 as underperforming. But in addition to Global Football, EA also mentioned that Dragon Age engaged 1.5 million players during the quarter, which was down nearly 50% from the company's projections, which, yeah, at the time when we just read over that, it's like, yeah, no, it missed tremendously. I'm surprised there was even that many people engaging with the product. But what exactly does that mean? And I didn't have the metrics at the time, but I thought in the back of my mind, kind of like how Ubisoft has their goofy Uplay or Uconnect or whatever the hell they want to call their, soon to be discontinued proprietary service. But you get the same thing with Microsoft Game Pass, and Sony, I think, has some goofy stuff over there on, PSN Plus if you just subscribe to that. But you can get access to these titles that come out day one if you just pay the nominal fee to sign up to a subscription service that they hope, you never engage with, so that they can just continue to collect all of these lapsed subscriptions. And yeah, I thought EA was one of the first adopters of this policy, and I didn't know if it was still going on. It's been a minute since I've, popped into my Origin account, so I hadn't checked at that point in time. It was just, one of those niggling thoughts at the back of my mind. But apparently, yeah, EA does not say if the 1.5 million number was unit sales. Dragon Age of Veilguard was also available as part of EA's Play Pro subscription service. Very important to note. Additionally, it's not clear whether EA is counting a free trial of the game that was available through the cheaper EA Play subscription in the 1.5 million number either. Oh, so there were many other avenues that you could get to in order to engage with this dumpster fire. So people that were just, myself included, I was really close to picking this up, and I'm really glad that I didn't, just for the absolute disaster that it ultimately was. Just a boring slop, just the awful gameplay, the insufferable characters, and the piss poor dialogue. Okay, there was only so much struggle I can take. I still don't know how the game ends. I couldn't even be bothered to follow through or just to click on somebody's finale gameplay. It was that bad. But the fact that you could get it, for just dirt cheap, but at this point in time, at least at time of recording, it's still a full 60, or in the case of, in my neck of the woods, $80 to buy on Steam. Okay, but hey, according to the likes of, stupid Jason Schreier out there, it's like, oh, get woke, go to the top of the charts, yeah, and then miss your engagement targets by 50%, not even knowing. Okay, so it's very likely, especially with all of those caveats where you could just engage with the game on a subscription service or through, the EA Play subscription. I don't think that this game sold 1 million copies. I don't think that that's going to be the case at all whatsoever, which is why not but 3 months, 4 months, because remember, this launched on Halloween, right? October 31st was when this pile of garbage dropped. Nothing scarier was done on that evening, of course, but shy of 3 months in circulation, Dragon Age of Veilguard just received its final major update. And what do we mean by that? No official announcement, at least at time of recording, but honestly, the language in the patch notes, yeah, it tells you all you need to know. But BioWare appears to have bid farewell to any further updates, for Dragon Age of the Veilguard following the launch of this week's game's patch number 5. Patch notes for the update thank fans for playing Dragon Age of Veilguard over the past few months, while some small additional quality of life features have been implemented. Like what? Silent protagonists, a 41% button, because there's forced trans dialogue into it. Anyways, BioWare goes on to state that it is now happy the game is in a stable place. So, okay, oh my god. Okay, so it took you the entire life cycle of this game to put it in a stable place? Bruh. And we'll move on. And we'll move to monitoring any of the reports of game-breaking bugs should these occur. I mean, nobody's going to engage with the game anymore. Like, if they haven't been found already, they're not going to be found in the future. Like, anybody who wants to play this game for meme value it's just going to be a surface playthrough. Nobody's going to engage with the side content any further than they already have. Nobody's going to be stress testing this abomination. It's going to go down, and I haven't even heard an update if that unlock in Star Wars Outlaws to bring that game up again, that the developers put out there. Oh, hey guys, there's this one skin for one of your space horses. Nobody's found it yet. Go out there and you can be the first. I haven't even heard if anybody got it. That's wild. But the patch notes finish with Dareth Shiral. meaning farewell or safe journey in the game's Elvish language. Yeah, whatever, man. I'll stick to Sindarin and Quiniac, or Quinian, rather. Not Quiniac, that's the reporting pulse. Jeez, just too many different things paying attention to, mix up things. Earlier this week, EA said Dragon Age Veilguard had missed the publisher's own internal targets after it engaged 1.5 million players between October 2024 and the end of the year. Yeah, that's not entirely fair because you miss just about the entirety of the month. So from November to the end of the year. Ooh, that actually looks even worse because that's 2 months and you guys couldn't get more than 1.5 million engagements. Last week, Eurogamer published the first statement from Dragon Age Veilguard. Game director Corrine Busche discussing her exit from the studio. Yeah, off to bigger and better things after your game missed such important targets like just, I don't know, a base level of players for something you guys have been working on and spending 9 digits worth of EA's cash, which is exactly why nobody has faith in BioWare moving forward. Why people, okay? It's the exact same thing with CD Projekt Red. The people that made all of those great games, you know, founding Rebel Wolves Studio, releasing that trailer for Dawnwalker, and that looking so good, especially in comparison to The Witcher 4. People are looking for the developers, for the programmers that made those great games to begin with. BioWare veteran James Olin finally reveals some gameplay, and boy does it sure look like Mass Effect. Yeah, this Exodus gameplay trailer that dropped midway through December, and yeah, it looks like those games. I'm not going to play the trailer or anything like that. It looks like the games that put BioWare on the map to begin with, the original trilogy of Mass Effect, those fantastic games, which I am genuinely looking forward to playing at a point in time in the near future when my schedule starts to open up. Hopefully, maybe. I'm not going to put a date on it because at this point in time, who knows, man? The news cycle is really starting to kick off, and I would much rather do work than game. You got to get while the getting's good. Oh well. But even just some of the stills there, some of the camera shots, like that looks straight out of that looks straight out of Mass Effect 2. Like no doubt. Okay, no UI or anything like that, and I see elevator shafts like that, and it's like, yep, that looks like the assault on the Citadel at the end of 1. Oh, that right there. I was like, that looks like straight out of anything that you would see Shepard in. Okay. Oh, and you got an Omni tool stub. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. This is fantastic. And this is the type of stuff that people want. There's a snappiness to the dialogue that reminds me of Fraser Brown's thoughts on how Dragon Age: The Veilguard had become BioWare's Avengers. No, it hasn't. Taken conversational cues from Marvel's formula that has grown awfully close to wearing out its welcome. Wow, it's amazing how PC Gamer will go ahead and say this after their glowing praise, which still an 8 out of 10 is a fantastic score for a video game. You'll say that then, but you wouldn't have the balls to say it at the time of the release of the game. But that right there, that's the collector's base. Like, what are we doing? Oh, that's right. Putting out games that people actually want to play. You're leaving the studios that have become too ideologically driven by trans activists like Corrine Busche, who would come in, leave their mushroom stamp on a franchise, and then deuces out the door after they just left a deuce on a beloved franchise. Nah, man. I think the people are starting to wake up, okay? They were wise, and they were starting to get hip to all of these consultancy firms that were ruining different studios back in 2024. But this year, this time around, especially, yeah, in the later half of 24 and into this year, if there's a game that comes around, because there's going to be a different tinge to the marketing this year, okay, where you got to pay attention to things, okay? It might look good, it might be trying to hide some of its messaging, but when it's all said and done, you take a look at the people behind the scenes, and if it's from a studio that you've known to love or a franchise that you have been a big supporter of for years, you got to take a look. It's like, how long has it been since releases, okay? Do we really think that anybody who worked on Skyrim or Oblivion, and especially in the case of Oblivion, because there's that rumor out there that Bethesda's going to be cranking out the remake of Oblivion here by the end of the year, do we think that anybody who worked on that game way back in the cut at the beginning of the Xbox 360 is going to be working on the remake? Do we really think that Microsoft is going to allow Bethesda to not update certain aspects of the gameplay that might not be acceptable for a modern audience? Do we really think that's going to be the case? Or do we have to start familiarizing ourselves? Kind of like the renaissance that went through Hollywood a little while ago, especially when it came to critics. Finally, taking a look under the hood, it's like, okay, cool, you could go ahead and trust Marvel to give you reliable, a generally fun affair, but especially in, phases 4 and 5, it's like, who the hell is writing this stuff? And then people started to look a little bit deeper and went, oh God, that's who's writing this? Somebody who has 1 credit on Rick and Morty, who has never directed or never, done a screenplay in their life. They directed an episode of Breaking Bad, and now they're doing a Star Wars movie. Like, what are we doing out here? No, people are starting to take a look at the people with the names on the boxes a little bit deeper than the likes of Todd Howard or Ken Levine, Neil Cuckman, even though he's his own kettle of fish in and of himself. Like, if he's putting his seal of approval on any game, you know it's going to be crap. Intergalactic, shout out. Long story short, BioWare is on its last legs, and it sucks as somebody who's been a big supporter of the studio for a long time. But it's not the studio, okay? It's just been a skin suit or a piece of superfluous, forearm skin just fashioned into a barely functional penis for Corrine Busche to fuck the franchise into the dirt with. It is what it is, man, and the only thing that remains is what ends up dying first, Ubisoft or BioWare. I guess we'll have to see. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.